Rub out the makeup, dash where the wig.
I feel it, so tell them below it.
Here we go!
And I knew no, I was standing out on the wayside wandering. Everyone was pleased with what they saw. Jah woke I up this morning, blessed I uprising. Why they criticizing? Why are they not glad to see progress? And I'm not doing nothing wrong. Why they spreading these rumors tonight, trying to paint a negative picture, but let them talk, talk. Anything when them want talk for, I now make no mouth, get I out. Children sing and chant and shout and let them talk, talk. Anything when them want talk for, I now make them out, get I out. I sing and chant
to Jah for every word that proceeded out of their mouth. Oh yeah, Jah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Yeah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Yeah. You tell them the truth, but still they don't believe you. You show them what is real, still they say what they feel. Yeah. Hypocrites and parasites, I'm talking about the scorpions of the earth. Yeah. We the sufferers of the earth, to them naughty we onward. Yeah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Yeah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Yeah. You live and let them be, but still they talk of you falsely. Try to establish the peace, but in war they increase. Stand aside.
Here we go!
You too laba laba, and you so. You too laba laba, way on. You talk about this and you talk about that. You talk about Austin and Cofet. You talk about Jackie and you talk about Pat. You talk about this and the devil knows what you just talk. You too laba laba, and you so. You too laba laba, way on. You talk about this and you talk about that. You talk about Austin and Cofet. You talk about Jackie and you talk about Pat. You talk about this and the devil knows what you just talk. You talk too much. You talk about things that you don't even see. You talk about him and you talk about me. You talk about Peter and you talk about Paul. You talk about Jimmy and you talk about Carl. You just talk. You talk too much. You talk about Shaman and you talk about Gwen. You talk about who and who have children. You talk about Janet also Karen, who live in the middle from who at the end. You just talk. You talk too much. You too laba laba and you so. You watch people business, whatever they do, you just talk. You talk too much.
Here we go!
See, there's another one of the deceptions we have, and that is the idea that there should be only one definition of intelligence that should apply all across everybody. And that's going to get you in trouble the same way the concept of standard education gets you in trouble as well. The thing, though, that we are emphasizing here then is what all or most definitions of intelligence deal with, and that is goal orientation and adaptive behavior. Goal oriented means that it is conscious and deliberate rather than accidental. So a lot of people think intelligence in its broadest sense is something that sort of happens on people, and it's something that just sort of is just automatically inherited it, and people have it or they don't have it. And I want you to note that intelligence is related to the setting of goals. Goals. And we're going to see in a minute that one of the major reasons for the confusion of black children, one of the major reasons for the kind of educational problems African children have over the world is because we as black adults are not clear about the goals that we want to accomplish as people. because it is the goals, that we set that organizes and informs intelligence. You see, if you have no goals and no sense of purpose, then there is no organization of the intellectual capacities of your children. We're going to come back to that. You have got to have cultural goals, people. You just can't send your children to school and expect them to learn when you have no real cultural goals and directions and things you want to accomplish. The first thing they ask you is, why am I studying this mathematics? Why do I have to learn this, Mama? Why do I have to read this? And because you have no sense of where you want to go as a people, you're at a loss to telling them to. Well, get your job. Don't you want to live better than we live in? The child back there looking at people selling crack. Well, what the hell? Why do I have to go through all of this? If this is merely what it's about, you've got to be able to inculcate the children with goals and have a goal orientation in order for them to organize their intelligence. And I'm going to show you, because you have let your future be determined by another people, your children's minds and brains have nowhere to go. And they have no reasons for learning, period. I'm telling you. The other aspect of intelligence has to do with the adaptive. The adaptive refers to the fact that intelligence consists of the ability to solve problems. Keep that in mind. To what? To solve problems. Not to score high on the IQ test. That is not intelligence. Not to score high on the SAT. That's coincidental. But to do what? Solve problems. Solve the problems that confront you as a people and solve the problems that confront you as an individual. I don't care how high you score on an IQ test. If you can't solve the problems that confront you as a people and as an individual, you are dumb. And you will be destroyed. See? And I'm telling you, you've heard me say before that regardless of the level of education of black people, from the PhD level on down, there is a certain fundamental dumbness in the black community. Yes, a dumbness. You talk about the crack dealer. Though he makes his thousands per month, and maybe millions, who still doesn't know how to launder the money, still doesn't know how to legitimize the money, gets raided and the money is stacked up in the closet. Doesn't know what to do with it. Period. But he is just as stupid as the black middle classer who takes that little check and takes every ounce of that check and spends it, giving it to a white man to pay inflated rent and other kinds of stuff. Who will not save, who will not invest in the future of the children or in the future of the community. The same idiocy, is characteristic of them both. So you have the same dumbness that runs from the highly educated right down to the one right in the street. You're basically no different. Yeah. I was talking to a Buppy one night, and he was complaining about the cars that the drug sellers were selling and the gold and stuff. I said, but really, brother, he's no fundamentally different from you. In a sense, you're just mad because he can buy the car you can buy. Because you're using that car to distinguish yourself in terms of class and, in terms of who you are, in terms of your status. And he's doing the same thing. So you're functionally operating on the same plane. You see, no difference. And you're just angry that he, being in one class different from yours, is able to conspicuously consume the same way you do. And now you're having a hell of a way determining how can you be distinguished from this person here. It's the same game. You're still feeding white people. You're still buying overpriced junk and garbage. You're still imperiling the future of black people. You should study history in its real aspects. Read Barbara Tuchman's history, I forget what it's called, of the 14th century Europe. Read that. And I'm not one of these Africans to tell you should only read African history. You need to read European history. You must understand European history. You really cannot appropriately understand African history unless you understand European history. I'm telling you, you can't do it. Because the histories are too inextricably intertwined one with the other. You only get to know the psychology of the European by reading European history. You will know to a good extent. You understand what I'm saying? You've forgotten, haven't you? You've forgotten, huh? How many million people had to be murdered, raped, tortured, robbed, dispossessed? And you think you're dealing with nice, good people, don't you? When you read my new book, you'll see where I talk about European ethics is based on, European criminality. You robbed enough and stolen enough to be nice. That's all it is. If we took that wealth from you, you'd be out here robbing and stealing in these streets like everybody else. You're not intrinsically nice. Don't deceive yourself. Your ethics are bought and paid for. They're not intrinsic within your own character, personality. The ultimate test of one's ethical character is when one is starving and has nowhere to go. Okay? And when one is standing in front of real temptation and you have no money in your pocket, that's when your ethics are tested. Not when you got all the money in the world and you can pretend, oh, I'm nice. Come on. We let these people run this game. And they have enough nerve. What am I saying here then? Intelligence then has to do with solving problems. Solving problems. You are not intelligent until you solve the problems that confront whom? You. Yes, you understand? You have let another people define intelligence as the ability to solve their problems, not your own. Their problem. They then call you intelligent when you can behave and think in a way that adds to their power and maintains their position in the world. Then you're intelligent. Then you have good character. Understand? I want you to think about what I'm saying here in a minute. You see? And their measure of intelligence then is intrinsically related to those abilities and ways of thinking that allows them to solve the problems that confront them as a people. Those African Americans then, who are often called intelligent within this system, are what I will call intellectual mercenaries. They are hired guns who then are used to solve the problems of the European corporate system and economic system, political and social system, but who, when confronted with their own problems, cannot solve their own problems. They can fly European shuttles into the space. They can light European ships up on the moon. They can sit on the board, on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and direct European armies and develop military strategies for Europeans. And yet they cannot run the white man out of South Africa. And they cannot militarily free themselves. They cannot move Africa into the space race. They cannot get our people in a position where we can commercially exploit space and be a part of the expansion of this system into the universe. You are dumb and ignorant no matter what position you have in this society if you cannot solve those problems, ladies and gentlemen. So you got an MBA so that you can be smart and be productive and even better than the white boys at producing for Xerox and producing for IBM and all the rest. But you can't build and take over your own economic systems in Brooklyn and Harlem and the other places. You Africans let these Arabs and these other groups have control of your economy and control of your system. I don't care how much you can go to Cambridge and how many Rhodes Scholars you produce and so forth. If you can't solve the starvation of African people, if you cannot move Africa to a position of technological challenge to other powers, if you cannot solve the issue of securing the survival of African people, you are dumb and stupid. I don't give a damn how much you pass the exam. Therefore, you must define intelligence in terms of your own goals, in terms of your own survival. You must organize the thinking of children and the behavior of your children in terms of your own survival, not in terms of supporting the survival of another people. When you organize the intelligence of these children in terms of the interests of another people, you are making your children traitors to your own causes. Colin Powell will direct armed assaults on African nations and African peoples. And I bet you couldn't get him to organize an army in Africa against the colonial and other forces in Africa. Understand what I'm saying? You have to look at intelligence. You can't accept the standard definition of intelligence. Screw the white folks' definition of intelligence. You must look at it in terms of what do we need to survive? What do we need to be liberated? What do we need as a people to secure our survival? So in this sense, the intelligence involves the constant active interaction between so-called inherited ability and environmental experience. Really, we're going to see intelligence and environment is essentially one and the same thing. We talk about them for convenience as if they're different things, but they are really one and the same thing. Intelligence and behavior and so forth only can make sense within the context of an environment. Otherwise, they have no meaning at all, no value whatsoever.
Each man has a brother, and each man's dream is their own. Now we must love one another, yeah, and we must all try to be friends. Each man has a brother, and each man has a friend. You can't live in this world all by yourselves. No, 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 you can't make it alone. And just as sure as you try to make it by yourself, you're gonna wake up and fall. You're gonna need somebody else.
I feel we still gonna tell them feel low it.
Here we go!
Black people not having advantages do not need to get the same education because you're not being educated for the same reason. You're being educated to remove that advantage. You're being educated to feed your starving children. You're being educated to benefit from the wealth that is being stolen from the lands of your ancestors. You're being educated to benefit from the wealth that you create here as a people. That means that our children must be reared to undertake their destiny and to undertake the tasks that lie before them. The problems that black children have to solve are not those that white children have to solve. Education is defined in terms of the problems people must solve. When you go to white schools, you are learning to solve white folks' problems. That's why you can work better for them and solve their problems better than you can your own. That's why, despite the fact that you may have an MBA degree or business administration degree, you own virtually no businesses and you administer nothing belonging to yourself and you have no control over anything economically. In fact, the more degrees you've gotten, the more other people are taking your businesses from you in your neighborhoods. Which means you're being educated for servitude. So the highest educated black is in the same position as the lowest one, and that is they're being educated or not educated in service to white power. Intelligence, we are not even intelligent. Black people are made stupid by the education that they get. And the more education we get, the more stupid we become. Yes, I know those are harsh words, but we have to deal with the reality. We are literally educated into dumbness. We call being intelligent high scores on the SAT, high grades at Harvard and Yale, how much we created for IBM, and how much we created for AT&T. Ladies and gentlemen, it has nothing to do with intelligence at all. You let other people define intelligence for you in such a way that it also means maintaining them in knowledge. The ultimate value of intelligence, the ultimate point of intelligence, is to solve one's own problems and to secure one's own.
Listen, girls, if you all believe in love, then you got to tell me if this is
Run the tune, mister, run the tune.
Listen, girls, if you all believe in love, then you got to tell me if this ain't true. A true love can never die. A true love always shines bright.
Run the tune, mister, run the tune.
Listen,
Why you
girls,
say fire? You want me to lock it up? You want me to lock it up? Seat your fire.
listen, girls, if you all believe in love, then you got to tell me if this ain't true. A true love can never die. A true love always shine bright. A true love never deceives. A true love can never be weak. So I want a love life. I don't want.
Why you say fire? You want me to lock it up? You want me to lock it up? Seat your fire.
Well, I appreciate the way you treated
Why you
me.
say fire? You want me to lock it up? You want me to lock it up? Seat your fire.
Well, I appreciate the way you treated me. When I'm down, you keep me around. And that's why, girl, you got to wear my crown. You are not as pretty as the other girls, but I don't mind it, for you suit me fine. You are a idol queen, I sent from Zion for I. You got that helping touch, and that's what I appreciate. So I don't care what the world may say, I've got love for you. You are the one to wear my crown, for you treat me good. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Why you say fire? You want me to lock it up? You want me to lock it up? Seat your fire.
I say you talk too much. I said you speak too much. You talk about things that you don't know. You talk about people wherever you go.
Why you say fire? You want me to lock it up? You want me to lock it up? Seat your fire.
Everybody's talking. I don't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my...
Whoa. Yeah. I'm here saying now. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, if you don't have love in you, you got nothing at all. Cause remember, love conquer it all. Love.
Everybody's talking. I don't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my mind. People stop and staring, but I can't see their faces. Only the shadow of their eyes. I'm going where the sun keeps shining through the pouring rain. Going where the weather suits my boat. Skipping over the northeast wind, sailing on a summer breeze. Skipping over the ocean like a stone. Wow.
Like Lenten, peas and Spanish rice. And a glass of more be with 6 block lines, so we gotta play it twice. Read about it.
Everybody's talking, no one is listening. Everyone's teaching, no one is learning.
Hold on! This one nice like Lenten, peas and Spanish rice. And a glass of more be with 6 block lines, so we gotta play it twice. Read about it.
Everybody's talking, no one is listening. Everyone's teaching, no one is learning. But the wise man keepeth the still tongue, 'cause he's got a mind of his own. He leaves others' business alone and minds his own. For trouble brings double trouble, and empty barrels makes the most noise. Every loudmouth is an him beside, and chatty tell no fly. So be still and follow the wise. Open your eyes. Oh yes.
But I think what is even more interesting is the fact that the most devastating violence is perpetrated by your average law-abiding citizen, by your good Christian citizens. Haven't you thought it very peculiar that when the Army recruits, it does not recruit killers? Here is the greatest killing machine in the world, right? And yet it weeds out killers. It looks at your criminal record and says, we really don't want any criminals in here. What then do they want? Nice American people, Christian boys, right? Law-abiding boys, high school graduates, people with what? Clean records, because they are the most conducive to making into killers. Apparently, they make the best killers. And if you look at the record of the U.S. Army, that would seem to be the case. But you see, people want to make you think that the average so-called gang kid in the gang out here is fundamentally different from the rest of us. Therefore, they must have some kind of unique genetic orientation. And we don't look at the reality of the situation. Those people we won't permit to be our killers. We want people who don't have records to be our killers. Why? Well, they've been trained to submit to authority only, without thinking, you see. They've shown by their clean records that they're not rebels. So if their officer says, take that hill, off they will go. It doesn't matter what the point is. They're used to what? Bowing to authority and obeying authority unthinkingly. They have been trained into conformity. They have been psyched out by something called being a man, so that despite the immorality of what they may be called on to do, when you challenge their manhood, they will then go out and do the most dastardly deeds of all, so you hype them on that bit. They've been trained to respond to patriotic music, so you play the music and beat the drums and off they march to war. It doesn't matter what it is. They have been trained to believe that as Americans or whatever nationality, they are morally superior to their enemies, and that their enemies are less human than they. And therefore, you can even use their very religion as the key to getting them to kill by designating the other people as pagans, non-believers, and so forth. That's why you want the moral ones, you see. They really make good killers. Because as soon as you indicate to them that they don't believe in the same God you do, you're ready to go and do them in. So these average, moral, law-abiding people also have a genetic marker for violence, and yet it has been under the banner of religion and patriotism that most of the killing and death in the world has occurred. And then they want to come to you and convince you that the kind of violence that occurs on our streets, which we must end, of course, represents our children having some kind of genetic marker for violence. And this is media. Media. And as you said earlier, Sister Dobson, this is the way the game is set up. So the whole thing is ridiculous, but people fall for it. Because again, we fall for authority. The other thing we fall for, of course, is what I call the medicalization of social problems. The little sentence I didn't get a chance to finish on Gil's show there. We'll do anything if the doctor says so. Why are you taking that poison? Well, the doctor told me to take it every 2 hours. Doesn't matter what it is. The doctor says do it. So I do it. And so what do then? We take psychiatrists, doctors, MDs, and when they put labels on our children, we're ready to let them do anything to these children they want to, because they are the doctors. Freedoms can be taken away immediately, privileges immediately,
constraints put on people immediately. All kind of torturous things can happen in the name of treatment as long as some doctor, has authorized it. So if you really want to get around constitutional issues and other kind of issues, you turn a social problem into a medical problem, and you give it a medical label, and people then will accept what is done in the name of medicine that they would not accept if it were done in the name of some kind of social label. Even the victims themselves and the people themselves will submit to the treatment once the treatment is rationalized in terms of a medical designation. It's getting too expensive to keep these young men in jail. I saw somewhere the other day. Got to find another way of controlling them. So if we give them drugs, we could perhaps, have something next to house arrest. You just keep them drugged up and control their moods and control their behavior and keep it going for the rest of their lives or until they grow old enough such that they won't probably engage in so-called criminal behavior. But as I warned my audience the other evening, you must recognize then that there's nothing new about these kind of initiatives. These initiatives have occurred from the very beginning since our enslavement. What you must recognize is the fundamental thing, and that fundamental thing is that we are dominated, and those who dominate us will constantly look for the means of justifying their domination. And each new initiative essentially is a new thrust which provides a new logic for justifying domination and a new methodology for executing it. But the constant there is still domination. The constant there is still social control. In other words, the European never intends to give up social control of African people. And the only thing that will be changed will be perhaps the justificatory excuses and the methodologies of control, but little else. You must keep one fundamental thing in mind, is Howard Zinn warned that the establishment, though it may reward us, in order to maintain its control, if necessary, it will kill us. The essential idea that motivates white supremacy is that of maintaining control and dominance. And this establishment that maintains control and dominance will at one time reward you, Negro bourgeoisie, and when necessary to maintain its control, will also kill you. And I'm saying that because there's some of us who think because we are receiving certain rewards from this system, that these rewards will continue forever. But you have to recognize rewards are a mean of control as much as punishment. We talk about it in psychology as what? Positive reinforcement. Yeah. Bribing. Yeah. So you give positive reinforcement, good salaries and what have you, good house and so forth, and all of a sudden those people who were gate rebels in the 1960s become neoconservatives in the 1980s and say, They got the good life. They bought the idea. They think that this is going to go on forever. Have not studied the manipulation through rewards. And they went to college to study psychology. And I've told you before how we are miseducated when we study psychology. We'll go right in there and study Skinnerian psychology and conditioning. And what have I told you before? We will not put ourselves in the place of the rat in the box. And we will not put ourselves in the place of the Pavlovian dog. We misidentify ourselves with the experimenter. But the actual condition of African people at this point is that of the Pavlovian dog and the Skinnerian rat, with others being at the controls and manipulating rewards and punishments and what we call negative reinforcements as a way of controlling our behavior. And when we talk about behavior in psychology, we not only talk about movement, but mental behavior as well, thinking in certain ways, seeing in certain ways, experiencing the world in certain ways. We include that too under behavior when we talk about behavior. And there are three fundamental ways, you see, of maintaining behavior in a conditioning situation. Rewards, and then what we call positive reinforcement. Then you have negative reinforcement, which isn't the same as punishment. It's a situation where you release a person from a painful situation on the condition that they behave in a particular way. So in a sense, you put them in a painful situation. You say, well, I'll let you out of this if you do this. Or if they're in a painful situation, you say, well, I'll remove this situation if you behave in this way. This is what we call negative reinforcement. You see, a release from a negative situation, which is a form of reward. So I will release you from the ghetto if you say, I am an American and I love it. There is no racism. I don't feel dominated. Individualism is the highest ideology in the world. Okay, we'll give you a little extra pennies and you can live in a nice house. Get yourself a VCR and look at movies. And then those who belong to the underclass, we just can't change them. They're in a painful situation. They look like they even like it there. So for those, we have to administer what? Punishment. You see. But what do all of these have in common? Social control. Anti-Semitism stuff that's got LIB jammed up. Oh yeah. People, at one point it's not a race, it's a religion. At another point it's a race. What's going on here? The thing that you have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a political strategy. Yes, sir. And an economic what? Strategy. An instrument of what? Control. A means by which one can control the behavior of others. You can call it religion, ethnicity, anything you want to, but its ultimate reality is that it is used to do what? Control the behavior and perceptions of other people in the interest of the people who belong to that thing. That's all it is. And the first question you ask, and so the thing goes out, you're anti-Semitic. Now, it doesn't matter what you said, whether you told the truth or not the truth, or this or that, has nothing to do with that. Not at all. It has to do, now the next question you're going to ask is, oh, how can I not be anti-Semitic? Don't say this, don't say that, don't do this, don't do that, and then we won't call you what? Anti-Semitic. And so when in striving to be what? Not anti-Semitic, you then what? Fall under the control of another people. Regardless as to whether they are right or wrong, or regardless of how unfair they are, as soon as you meet the requirements of not being called anti-Semitic, you're under control. And yet here's a people that's less than 3% of the American population, less than 1/10 of 1% of the world's population, who through the use of that term and through the throwing of that accusation can manipulate whole political and economic and social systems. And then they're the first ones to tell you that you shouldn't talk in terms of race.
Oppression is what you make it. Life is so hard and tough. If you don't change your way, the penalty you must pay. The whole wide world in such a disgrace. All mankind do is to mess up the place. From town to town, arson up the place. Man gets so bad, but it's not all the while. Stand up to your judgment, for it's you who have made it. Stand up to your judgment, don't you run away. Stand up to your judgment, don't you run away. Yeah. Stand up to your judgment, do you hear what I say? Oppression is what you make it. Life is so hard and tough. If you don't change your way, there's a penalty you must pay. Your wide world in such a disgrace. All mankind do is to mess up the place.
child. Happiness was never mine. Then to me, yes, it came one day. Happiness, come back, I say. 'Cause if you don't come run, I come looking, yeah, for happiness. And if you don't come run, I come looking, yeah, for happiness. I've done you no wrong. I've done you no wrong. Reveal yourself to me, my people. Want I'm hurting inside.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, yeah. I'm here say now. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, if you don't have love in you, you got nothing at all. Cause remember, love conquer it all, love conquer everything. The Ogle said that. Wow, wow, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let them answer to Jah for every word that proceeded out of their mouth. Oh yeah, Jah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Yeah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Yeah. You tell them the truth, but still they don't believe you. You show them what is real, still they say what they feel. Yeah. Hypocrites and parasites, I'm talking about the scorpions of the earth. Yeah. We the sufferers of the earth. To them naughty we onward, yeah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day, yeah. Let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let Eden talk, let them talk. Jah will make a brighter day, yeah. You live and let them be, but still they talk of you falsely. Try to establish the peace, but in war they increase. Stand aside, blessed children of Jah, and watch the wonders of the Lord. Yeah. Fight war with the wicked no more, for in fire shall they burn. Let them talk, Jah. Let them say what they want to say. Let the heathen talk. Jah will make a brother die. Let the heathen say what they want to say. Let them talk, Jah, let them talk. Gotta let them talk. Let them speak the abundance of their heart. And then let them answer to Jah. Every word that proceeded from their mouth. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Jah know, Jah know, Jah know, Jah know. Hypocrites and parasites, I'm talking about the scorpions of the earth, yeah. Fight war with the Eden no more, for in fire shall they burn, Jah. Let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Let the heathen talk, let the heathen talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Let the heathen talk. Oh, yeah, yeah. Let the heathen talk, let the heathen talk. Jah will make a brighter day. Let the heathen talk, let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, yeah. I'm here say now. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, if you don't have love in you, you got nothing at all. Cause remember, love conquer it all, love conquer everything.
Yes. Whoa.
Down on my bended knees, it's gonna take a miracle. I say it's gonna take a miracle to make me love someone new when I'm so crazy for you.
Why is the fire? You want me to lock it up? You want me to lock it up? Seat your fire.
Yes, so we come in, when I say nothing, we are say holy, and we're gone. Reflection, we're gone. Just like that, because we can do anything we want.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Just think of a sunlight in the day and a moonlight in the night. Fishes are dancing in the rivers of by, there is still a blue sky. Until another baby cry, I wonder why some people sigh. Oh yeah, life goes on. Life goes on. Life goes on. 'Cause every day another baby's born.
You see, people trust a lot of signs, but what people not trust is themselves. I've learned to trust myself internally, trust myself, and depend on myself. So I'm self-independent, not extraordinarily proud, but without leaning on somebody else. Should that not make me somebody? And I need to lean on people. Me lean upon my wife. But I need to lean on nobody. I glorify myself. I really do. And I trust myself. And I trust my judgment. Does that make me a bigot? Does that make me what? Non-insensitive? I think not. That's me personally. So, who want to understand me, understand, not me. Understand what me I project. Do not try to understand me. Understand what me I project. You understand? Yeah. And I am my mother's child. Nobody else is. I'm my mother's child. Guidance gone.
Oh no. Hey, Mr. Government, I said, hey, Mr. Government, employ me. Yeah. No clothes to wear, no food to eat, not even shoes on my feet.
See, I mean, I look no job, you know.
Cause a confusion. Politician, it a go cause a confusion. Some people running away, some not coming to stay. Some of them are running away, some not coming to stay. Politician, it cause a confusion.
And then you have some hypocrites, real hypocrites, you know, and them know them deal, them practice hypocrisy. You understand? There are people, black and white, parasites, and then them say them believe in God. But you see, the God that them believe in is a man, is a human. That's why they have no fear. And them practice all kind of mythologies. Me no practice mythologies. Me no practice no obia. Me give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night, night and day. And when me miss out, me seek Tawbah. Yes. So that I don't chat and do the same thing again. You understand me? Hypocrite. Watch it.
Ooh la la, see the hypocrites them a galang, see them a galang, yeah yeah.
Yes, mommy. Guidance.
Yeah, go mash down principalities and wickedness. We are go tear down principalities and wickedness. For we've been suffering.
You hear them lyrics there? I could have written them myself, you know. But my generation do that. Yes. Simple. And I know it hurt some people when them listening. Lyrics. Reggae music. Cultural expression.
Yeah, go mash
Time. Reflection. Guidance.
We are go tear down principalities and wickedness. For we've been suffering lot of starvation. For we've been suffering victimization. For we've been suffering great tribulation. We are gonna mash down principalities and wickedness. We are gonna tear down principalities and wickedness. Our foreparents have suffered all through those years. They suffer like a living with blood, sweat, and tears. And if we don't stand strong, surely a better day. We gonna mash down.
Bomber drop, damn you!
And in those moments, watch a God send you a little angel. He's gonna cause you to be at the right place at the right time. Worry about what you can do. Nothing else. Just do your part. And watch God meet you halfway. Do you believe that? Now I'm trying to give you some news that you can use. Is you listening? Do you hear me? Are you just sitting over there worried about it?